I just wanted to look at a few different trees on the way, try and tune in your tree ID a bit more. With identifying trees, winter is one of the hardest times. You might get asked to go and look round a woodland to give some advice on it, and you might go there in the middle of January, and if you don't know what half the trees are, it's not very helpful. What leaves has fallen here? There's a lot of chestnut around, but anything else you can see there? That's a bit different, isn't it? And what you've got here is a wild service tree. Quite an unusual native tree, yeah. Sorbus torminalis. This tree is fairly en route to your caravan, Mikey.
Yeah, I've walked past it probably 30 times.
Exactly. So what you will find is that when spring comes, you'll see how it breaks, you'll see the leaves, and you'll learn that tree because you now know where it is.
Yeah.
No one walks to school.
If you look to this just close up as a bark, it's quite easy to mistake it for an oak. It has a very similar bark at this age, but what really makes chestnut stand out as it gets older is this spiralling pattern that goes right up through the tree. When eventually, if the tree was milled up, you get very interesting growth patterns in there, and they're quite popular for people turning and making bowls and platters. You'll see the growth pattern, it's all over the place, beautiful knotted pattern. Yeah. I kind of like having a slight sort of wilderness edge to this bit on the top of the hill, and allowing some timber to, to carry on, to decay. Makes sense to leave a bit for nature. Honeysuckle. Yeah.
I've never actually seen honeysuckle grow wild.
Oh yeah, there's loads of wild honeysuckle through the woods.
It's amazing to see it sort of so naturally hung between the trees. Like.
That's it, yeah. And of course it's a really important food plant. White admiral butterfly we have here quite a lot of. It's quite a localised Sussex butterfly actually. It's this is the main food plant for the caterpillar. Oh, feeling hungry. That's King Alfred's cakes. Really, really good for starting fires, although you wouldn't think so today when it's this wet. And you can light them just with a lighter or a match, and they'll glow like charcoal. Blow on them, and it will just be like a red ember, perfect for starting fires.
Does it just continue glowing, sort of thing, or will it go out eventually?
No, usually burn through. I mean, it literally is like a lump of charcoal just slowly burning, with, and as you blow on it, it will come brighter red. When we look at the sort of processes of continuous cover forestry, you try and mimic this. So you'll go in and you'll open up areas big enough to allow light in for natural regeneration.
Yeah.
That way you're selectively taking out parts of the forest rather than going in and doing a clear fell.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see it like this. Yes, and alder will do really well wherever there's a stream or a ditch running through the copse, and it has little root nodules. If you scrape away under here, you can occasionally see these little nodules on the ends of the roots. And what they're doing is they're absorbing nitrogen out of the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And then as the tree grows, that works its way up into the leaves. And as the leaves fall down onto the ground and decompose, they then put nitrogen back in the soil, which feeds the other plants.
It'd be too wet for other trees to grow here.
Exactly. I mean, the chestnut doesn't like being sitting with its roots in water, whereas the alder does. So it's kind of ideal plant, and it adds, more diversity throughout the woodland. It's quite vigorous, fast growing. It self-seeds beautifully. One of the lovely things about the seeds is when the seeds form, they've come out of here already, but they float. So they've got like two little floats on them, so they'll work their way down the stream and then get into a bank and grow there. Yeah, so really good for that. Certainly the hardest bit is not over. The hardest bit is still to come. I mean, the work rate will up considerably once we get into January, February. And then as we get into the beginning of March, then it will become quite frantic to get everything finished before spring breaks. So yeah, there's still a lot to come. But of course, by then, the days will be drawing out. The promise of spring will be coming, and they'll have that they'll be able to see that in the future each day they're working, and that will give them the energy that you get. It seems incredible that as spring approaches. I mean, I kind of sort of feel a bit like the bluebells coming up. You're kind of coming out of the dark of winter, and you kind of gain this sort of extra bounce in your step, and hopefully they'll pick that up as well. We can sort out some roadie.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, man.
Come on.
This is basically, it was a hand-drawn map I found by the father of the owner of Snapelands, the previous owner.
Wow.
And it's quite interesting because that is Snapelands there, and this is the pond and the track which we now take to come into the woods that goes up here.
Uh-huh.
And we're about here in 16.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's all field.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah. I mean, the only difference is, I mean, the wood is all green. Everything green is wood. These are all fields. Now, maybe at the time, maybe these were ploughed, maybe these were grassland. You know,
Yeah.
it's difficult to know.
Do you know what Snapelands means?
As an old word, it means boggy ground. Surprising that up here, isn't it? That's the only real definition I found of it, is an old English word for boggy ground. Well, the original ideas were designed by children from the school. So this is a primary school in South Harting, it's the other side of Midhurst. We took all their drawings and sketches and ideas, and then we worked as a steering group, and slowly this design evolved. The ground drops away on the far side, so this will be coming across the school playing field. And the idea is the front of this can be used for many sort of outdoor activities for the children, but also as a sort of community theatre and various other local activities.
So this building's getting built this summer. How long will it take to build roughly?
So I would imagine we'll be looking at getting onto this in spring, and it will be an ongoing project probably for, again, I need to detail it, but it's probably going to be around about 4 to 5 months, I would think. You see this sort of odd shape in the middle here?
Yeah.
Well, that is in the bit underneath, in the central bit coming up, which will support the floor of the main building, is going to be a big tree.
Roots upwards.
Yeah, and then we'll joint the floor joists, which are also the roof rafters of the understory, into that tree. And we'll, at the top, when we lay the floor in here, we'll lay it in a pattern that works itself around the shape of the tree at the top as well.
Wow. It's like some kind of crazy journey to the underworld of the Nordic mythology or something.
It looks amazing, and just to see that realised as well is going to be incredible. Without wishing the year away, but we're all in April. Well, that's beautiful.
It's pleasing to see it, you know, as I say, as we approach the darkest time of winter, that they're excited, they're enthusiastic, they can see what's coming, and yeah, they're looking forward to it. On the product and what's going to come out of there. Now, I'm going to go through product in detail with each group when they go up and we start working through the products. Anyone want to guess what that might be? We could use it as a weaver for put stakes in the ground and do like little low weaving fences for sort of raised beds. Grab a billock and start working it up. I'll be coming round, seeing what you're up to, trying to give you a bit of quality control on getting you a bit better at it as you go. Yeah, don't chop it back towards you. And today, just having a practical day with a course group that's come up from Bristol. Just getting everyone involved in working the coppice, getting a feel for the tools and what it's like to be out working in the woods. It's interesting, I think, when you're looking at sustainability, it's very different from a rural and urban context. I mean, I'm quite out of touch with a lot of the issues that this group are dealing with in an urban situation, and I learn quite a bit from talking to them, and hopefully the other way round, by them being up here, learn a little bit about some of the rural issues that go on and what we're trying to do here. Some have done a bit before, others haven't, so hopefully they'll pick up some tips from it.
Well, I've known Ben for about 18 years, I think it is. I can remember first coming and he was living in a bender, just moved, had eviction notice from that, moved into a caravan.
It's hedging stake, 6 foot tall, quite a bit thicker.
Coming to Ben's is always an inspiration for understanding how much product you can actually make from a woodland.
Again, a little bit wonky, not as tall as a bean pole.
Ben's clearly very aware that any time he does work, it's got to be worth his while doing it, which means that he's got a product or a range of products to come out of it.
What I tend to do with the birch is scrape it. It's not a great piece actually, that one. But,
Ben?
Yeah.
With the brash that we're taking off, do you want us to put that in a pile as well?
Yeah, if you get that into the pile, once
Yeah.
you've got a sort of arm full, bring it over to the fire.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
You know, when Ben finally leaves this woodland, whenever he does, it'll be as fertile and as able to give someone else a living, as it is now. So he's not really, even though he's taking from the woods, he's not really diminishing what's here, which is the complete opposite of what we're doing in almost every other aspect of our lives. You know, we're digging up coal, oil, and natural gas like it's gone out of fashion, burning it in order to maintain our lifestyles. We'll leave the planet much diminished. That's, I guess, the key thing I've learnt this last few days is his ability to really, make a living from woodwork.
If this is our direction of fall, we've got these areas here where we're going to work from and also walk into. What we're going to try and do is get it to rest in this tree here and roll it off.
Chainsaw in your hand, it's a bit daunting to know it could go through your leg quite easily, but you're sort of constantly poised, sort of weighting it and just trying to get it in the right place at the right time. But yeah, I suppose it's like anything, once you start using all those muscles you get a bit of a build-up of them and it doesn't ache so much when you finish the day, sort of thing. I'm feeling a lot more confident and just actually enjoying it and not just stressing about it so much, which is a good start. Come back and talk to me in 5 days' time and we'll when I've got my actual assessment and we'll see where I'm up to then.
Shall I go? Going to rattle its way down? No. Of course it's not.
Apples are grafted and the rootstock determines how big the tree will get and how soon it will begin to fruit. I've pruned this over a number of years and you can see there's kind of a tiering forming, and that's really what you're looking for. You're looking for branches that are arching out that are then going to send up what we call spurs, and we prune back those spurs to form clusters of fruit bud where your apples will appear. Now if it gets too congested, and down here I'd say it's starting to get a bit congested, then you don't get enough light in, and although you might get quite a lot of apples forming, they'll either be quite small or you get quite a lot drop off in what we call the June drop. So this is basic spur pruning, allowing more light in, it will stimulate more growth and hopefully weather permitting, bullfinches permitting, frost permitting, we'll get a good crop of apples this year. So this is composting toilet at Prickly Nut Wood, and it's a good way of recycling our waste and turning it into something useful for the land. So it's a long drop system. One uses the loo. We add a bit of sawdust from the sawmill on top of it, maybe wood ash as well if that's available, and then that sits into a lower container where it settles for usually a few months and fills up. We then empty that container into a secondary composting area where it gets more airflow, and once that's broken down, it then gets spread around the fruit trees. It's the complete cycle really, isn't it? I mean, you manure the apple tree to give it fertility. The apple tree grows, produces an apple. We pluck off the apple, we eat the apple, passes through our body, comes out as waste, we compost it, put it back on the apple. Total entropy, the cycle is complete.
That was the first tree I've done where I'm signed off. I'm starting to get a bit more familiar with the machine and a bit less terrified of it all the time. So relaxing into it, and yeah, it feels good to be doing sort of actual work rather than just jumping through hoops to pass a test. My test, I wasn't very good at snedding the tree. Didn't do a very good job of it, but I'd not actually tried to extract any timber and stack it, and now having done that this week I'm like, right, I'm going to make sure I sned up my trees properly, because they're much easier to drag and stack when you've done a good job of it.
Cleaving with wedges is the least accurate form of cleaving because you've got far less control. The word cleaving also means splitting, riving. They're different words for the same process, which is basically splitting the piece of wood into two by prising the fibres apart. If we were to saw through this log, we get two beautifully even halves, but all the fibres would be cut through. By prising them apart, we allow the fibres to remain intact and the wood to keep its strength. There's many different types of cleaving brake, and they're a vice by which you can control that split as it runs through the wood. We're looking for the very central point of the chestnut. There's actually a tiny star right in the centre of that, and that's what you want to hit. You want to split the star. And to start with, I'm just going to open that up nice and gently, watching it both sides, seeing what it does, where it goes, hoping it stays in the middle, and slide the froe in as I go, turning over, keep watching where it's going. It's very easy to rush ahead with this. When you get used to it, you will go very fast, but to start with, just go nice and slow. And you can see that it's beginning to drop off. When your cleave starts to drop off, you take the thicker side, which is this one, and you place that whole thing into the vise, and you pull down on the thicker side. So I'm putting pressure down on that. Yeah, it's locked in and I'm putting pressure down. then you'll find as I cleave that will move back the other way. So really it's a matter of just turning it and working out which way it's going. As you go too far one way, you pull it back.
Beautiful.
A couple of hundred of them before lunch. Yeah. That's good. Well done. That one there. Squirrel damage all the way up. Going mainly for the sugars under the sap. Yeah. Good boy. Head on along the bottom. Some days we've gone out, we set out, and it's warm, slightly warmer, go out, you know, and we've had a dozen.
Yeah.
Winter in the woods, there is a reasonable amount of meat about, but it's time to catch it, and when you go out with your guns and the squirrels are hiding, it doesn't help. I do what I call a bushmeat casserole, which is my favourite squirrel dish, which marinates them overnight in a little bit of olive oil and slow cook them in a casserole the next day into the bottom oven of the Rayburn, and they can just slow cook in there for a number of hours, and that's meat comes out really tender and really delicious.
It's nice and warm in here. I don't need a hot water bottle. Nice evening Thursdays, nice and sociable and relaxing. Yeah, and smell better afterwards.
You know, when you're working all day and then coming in and having to light a fire and maybe cooking over another fire, they know they've got this night which is a moment of relaxing for them, and they can sit back and enjoy and not have to think about too much, and usually they go away feeling full and warm and sets them up well.
It's nice to get fed and have a shower, and my mum will be pleased to know that my hair gets washed at least once a week. So
Cheers.
cheers.
So many of the vegetables we buy have, you know, been cut and in store for so long. It's lovely to go out and actually cut something and eating it within a few minutes. You can't get fresher than that. A few bits in here I've picked up from the shop, but the majority of the meals come out the garden, and that's not a bad thing in February. A little bit rushed tonight, but hopefully it'll do the trick.
Doesn't taste it, but
Eat some salad.